We'll see evidence of it in a second. Yes, I think we're on. Welcome YouTube and welcome Rumble. So I hope Rumble shares the video. I think they share it after the live stream. So we shall see. In the meantime, I have the chat open both on Rumble and YouTube. And this is our regular scheduled live stream on Thursday night, always at Thursday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. I'm in Los Angeles here, so Pacific time. And the format of the live stream, as always, is just 30 minutes of the subject matter that's in the title or less, and then the rest is the Q&A section. So if you think the video is too long, it is not. You can check out at 30 minutes, because after that is just Q&A. And, what we talk about is pretty random. It depends on what you guys ask. And I'll pay attention to you in the comments on that next half an hour or after I finish with this segment. I also will put preference on answering questions coming from the members. The members here on YouTube have a little icon, a blue icon like Great Gold has a green icon, I guess. Is that green? And so, and Frank's Beans has a blue icon. So I don't understand the difference color in there. So whatever the color is, we'll prioritize the members when you ask questions on the next half hour. Not on this segment here. So anyway, and there we are on Rumble. I see Great Gold, Entire Meyer, Catchy Man, and South Dakota live here on Rumble so far. So, guys, the topic is that Signal is dropping support for SMS, and I'll tell you what the reasons they gave for that and how I react to that. I'm not happy about it, and they may have a different opinion, but I was getting people in on Signal, and this will kind of turn them off. And so I might lose some people on Signal because of this. So anyway, here's the scoop. So at the moment, as of today, you can run Signal as your messaging or SMS app on your Android. So you can specify it as your messaging app on Android so that all of your text messages go into Signal as well as your normal Signal messages. And what happens there is that you have one app that handles messaging. And if the user is using Signal, then automatically it goes into the encrypted mode because Signal to Signal will be encrypted. If you're talking to somebody who's not on Signal, it will go in standard texting mode, and nothing changes. It'll be like normal text. And of course, this is no big mystery, guys. All your text can be read. It is read. It is collected by, the government. In fact, there's a big database of it on DCIS net or DCS net. The FBI keeps a copy of that. That is part of the CALEA law. So they track everything you do in texting. That doesn't change. It's still the same as before. So texting is non-secure. Here in the US, texting doesn't cost anything. In some countries, they get charged per text, but that is not true here. With most of our unlimited plans, we don't really have an issue with that. So it's kind of pointless to worry about, if you're going to pay for every single text, because, for the vast majority of us, we do not pay for the text. It's all free. And so Signal decided that they're no longer going to support, it's coming up, I think, doing SMS on Signal. So now what you have to do is have two apps, and it's not actually an easy transition here because I just tried it and set myself up. So now you have to have two apps. You have to go to the standard SMS app that you're using. Then you have to go into settings for that. This is on Android. You have to go into settings for that, and you have to, in the advanced section, specify that it will now be your SMS app versus on Signal it used to be both. So So the consequence of that is now you have two separate messaging systems you got to check if you're using Signal for this purpose. So so that's the effect that's going to happen here, and it's going to happen fairly soon. So I've set up myself for it. On my Google phones, if any of you have Google phones from me, I typically have suggested that you use Signal as your messaging app and to pre-configure Signal as your messaging app. Now you got to undo that and make two messaging apps if you're using Signal, and do some of you don't even need to use Signal and you're using it as a messaging app because the interface is much better than the default messaging SMS app on the Google phone. So because the default messaging app on the Google phone is the Google SMS app, and if you don't want to use that, then you're forced to use the whatever the Googled app is. Sometimes it's made by Simple SMS Messenger, typically, and the interface is it's pretty basic, and it's not the most attractive one to use. Signal is definitely better than that, and so anyway, so you have to use that as your messenger app for SMS, or download some other one, and I'll give you some other options later on. Anyway, the problem here, guys, is how I've actually convinced my family to use Signal. So the way we've done this, especially my own mom, like, she's obviously not techie, and she doesn't understand any of these apps. She just knows you give her a messaging app, she just starts texting on the messaging app without actually having to think about it. Hold on, it says it's buffering here, but it looks okay. Okay, so just checking to make sure I'm not buffering here. Okay, so by giving her, my mom as an example, one interface here, you just use Signal for everything and you don't have to think about it. Just use Signal for everything, even phone calling. And in fact, on many phones, you can even specify the Signal as a dialing app, so that when you list your contacts, there's an option to dial them via voice, by the normal dialer, or you can use the Signal dialer as their voice app. So instead of using a normal dialer, you give them a the interface. On some, this is not true of all, like the Google phones, this is not always the case. But on some, for example, I've seen this on Lineage OS, where you have the option to actually see in that dialer that Signal is being used as a dialer, and then you have an option to choose whichever icon you want, and then you can choose the icon for the Signal dialer, and Signal dials out. So here's a case where a regular user like my mother doesn't have to think about what to use. If I want her to be secure for my sake, that she uses Signal with me, and I don't have to instruct her, because she just goes to the app and clicks on it and it dials out. Okay, now here's what happens now. It's buffering. It's not buffering on my end here. It shows buffering on YouTube, but there's no buffering on the transmission that I'm making here. So my end is okay. So maybe in between there. Okay, so anyway, the issue becomes that for at least for people like me who wants to be secure and private, I need to encourage the people who contact me to use secure means, because if you can believe this, my own mother was trying to contact me via Facebook Messenger, and I had to tell my mom that there is absolutely no chance, zero chance of ever reaching me on Facebook Messenger. Zero. There's zero possibility of that. And there's no evidence of a drop here, by the way, on my end. It's all green. So was there a drop in was there a drop on Rumble, or is it just YouTube? So entire Meyer says it's getting choppy. So okay, here, there it did get chopped up there for a moment. So I did see it. Okay, I'm not paying attention, but it's for brief moments. It's having a problem here. Very brief. There it is again. Sorry about that. I mean, it only happens for a few seconds. So, only happens for a few seconds. And then it comes right back up. So it shouldn't be too much of a disruption here. Okay. So it's probably, it'll probably drop the video for a few frames, but probably not enough to cause a major disruption. So I'm going to ignore that since there's no lengthy drop in the signal. It only dropped for like a second. Okay. So anyway, the issue is for someone like me, so I'm the one who wants to be private. The secret to privacy is to have anyone like your friends, because as you all know, the actual source of lack of privacy is not you directly. It's from people's contact lists and people trying to contact you in ways that are not secure, like sending you lots of emails, things like that. One of the worst things they can do is, for your family to email you. That's one of the worst. Texting is just equally bad. So texting and email would be bad ways for your family to reach you. And since you can talk to your family, it's like, come on, just use Signal and be done with it. And so that's what was encouraging them. I'm not really concerned so much if my mom talks to her old friends using texting or even Facebook Messenger, because what are they going to talk about? What does somebody that old talk about? So it's not going to be about tech. It's not going to be about taking over the government or anything like that. So I'm not so worried about that for her sake. I'm saying that for me, it was my only way to protect myself was to say, okay, you can only contact me on Signal. Just like saying, okay, that dropped for like 10 seconds there. Jeez. That wasn't good. So, so unfortunately, this Signal, this is the logic for Signal saying they're not going to support SMS. They said that people don't realize that they're sending messages via standard text on Signal. And so they don't want anyone to be non-secure by doing that. They want it to be clear. If you're using Signal, you're encrypted. If you're not using Signal, you're not encrypted. Well, obviously that logic fails in my case. Okay? So in my case, I was using it to encourage people who were not secure. In fact, people like my mother would never use Signal. They would never use Signal. My family would never use Signal. They say, we don't care. We can be tracked all day. You should see my nieces. I have 3 nieces who work in marketing. They're in advertising and marketing, all that, and they their source of income is making money through tracking all of you in advertising. Okay, so he's like I mean my nieces are like saying, hey, that's okay, we can be tracked all day. It helps us select the products. We get recommended the products we like. Was their logic. So it's to my nieces, I say, Zuck, you do whatever you want, I don't care. But the problem is, if you want to talk to me, the only way to talk to me is to Signal. So now how do I encourage that? Now I can't. because now they're going to say, well, it's another app. I've got to use another app. I'm going to be so messed up because, I can't go switch apps. So now what they're going to do is now talk to me using standard text. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So now I got to respond, or at least see the texts that are going to be sent to me via normal SMS. So now what used to be all Signal will now be a mix, and they will obviously make mistakes and start sending me stuff on SMS. And this is exactly what I was trying to avoid with them using Signal. So it's a bad move by Signal. Their logic is flawed because they are actually thinking of it from the wrong side. Since the people I'm trying to convince we're going to use Signal, otherwise they wouldn't have used Signal. So what's going to happen now is I will likely lose my family as Signal users. So now I got to go come up with some other option. And so far it was the friendliest option I could find. So anyway, that's my thought on that. I think it's a bad move. So let's talk about alternatives here. If you're using Signal, what do you use? So if you're on a Google phone, what texting app are you going to use? SMS app instead of whatever the default is. You can use the default one on a standard Google phone. Of course, on iPhone, they have a standard messaging app on iPhone, so you don't have to change that. That's whatever it is, was never on Signal. So on iPhone, it was never on Signal. So this was something to do with iPhones. Then with Androids. On Androids, the default SMS app on Google Android is actually a Google app. So the option is to obviously not use the Google app. And I was looking at some options. The standard one that seems to be used by the Google phone crowd is the one called Simple Messenger. In fact, it's a default on Brax too. It's not the best interface though. I'm not convinced it's the better one. So anyway, I looked around and I saw one that might be a good option. Somebody said there were bugs on the Simple Messenger app. Somebody said, and I can't confirm this, so you're gonna have to talk about this. We're not talking about secure messaging apps like Session or any one of those. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about standard texting app to use for texting. So I was trying Simple Messenger, SMS Messenger, which is built into the Google phones, and you can download it from Aurora Store. Has bugs. And some have said the bugs may have been like, you can't do group texting very, it doesn't group text correctly. So you'd send a group text and only one person gets it. If that's the case, I'm going to say try out this one called Chomp, CHOMP. So I set my phone to Chomp to see if this behaves better. You can. I'm trying it out now. So that's one that seemed to be getting good reviews. So Chomp, CHOMP. So try that out, and you can download it from Aurora Store and use it instead of Simple Messenger, and use this as a substitute. See if you like it. You can theme it, so it's much more attractive. It has night mode and all that, so it's a much more attractive app than the basic Simple SMS Messenger. The problem with a Simple SMS Messenger is, and you can see it in the reviews, there are many bugs in it. So be aware. That's the main concern. Aside from the interface, the Simple Messenger has bugs. So that's my main concern that I want you to be aware of. Okay, so that's called Chomp, CHOMP. So give that a try. Now, obviously, I'm going to encourage my family to use Signal still, but they may waiver now if they have to use a different app for texting. So yeah, now you got to do two apps, and there's no way to actually, so the SMS app can't get the messages from Signal, so all the past SMS are on Signal, and then Signal will just stop working. So I got to figure out if there's a way to export that into the other SMS app. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't even know if it's possible. So yeah, it may be. I think Signal said that they have a way of doing that, but I'm not certain. I haven't tried it, so that's something I'm going to give a try too. Chomp is pronounced champ, chomp, not chomp. Chomp, like chomping, I presume. Chomp. I said chomp, not chump. I have no idea, but that's, I don't know how it's pronounced, but, I'm just using the word chomp. Is chomping on a piece of celery, that kind of chomp. Okay, don't know. You can correct me later on. We'll figure it out, but that's one I recommend. So, that's something that to give a try, and unfortunately there may be some negative effects to the Signal move. Now, I found an app. I was talking about texting without a SIM card, and I found an app that can do that. And they actually have a SIM card option, and I'd like to know if people are using this and give me some feedback to see what you think about it. And I just saw it. It's a U.S. company, so chances are it's probably still subject to CALEA law. So it could still be monitored by the government. But for normal use, it's just, I'm thinking only of 2FA here, where it's not really a significant issue. And it's cheaper than a SIM card, a standard SIM card. You may want to go check out. Signal is very unstable. Okay, Signal was very unstable there for quite a few seconds. Very unstable. Okay, so yeah, that was a big drop there. I was in the middle of talking and I just saw it turn red. Yeah, so it's not buffering bad for you, as Tim here is making a comment about. It's not you, it's on my end. So just be patient here, and it recovers. It recovers. It's just I don't know why it happens some days, not others. I don't really know, but it's very uneven here. So I mean, it just stops completely. Just stops completely. So even if other people were using the network, it's not going to stop completely like that. So I don't actually know the whys here. So it could be our friends at my ISP, which is Spectrum. I was going to transmit the live stream using Starlink, and the problem is, I found that, at least in my case, it may be the position of the antenna, that I have a fairly uneven signal at night with Starlink, and it may be because of maybe the antenna is switching positions at night, and in the way I have it positioned, it's only open to one part of the sky. So for that reason, I'm reluctant to go try it out unless I watch it at night and see if the antenna is shifting position at night. So anyway, that's something to think about. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. I was talking about if anyone's using this to give us your impressions about this app called Text Now. Text Now is can give you phone numbers, voice over IP, can give you texting, and then if you have a paid account, you can actually make calls in and out. And it's free domestically, free domestic calls, and it's under $10 a month with the SIM card. I believe it's free for I think it's free for just if you don't have a SIM card, it's free, and for domestic calling. So given that, I'm interested to know. I don't really have an opinion on it. I haven't tried it, so I would be interested in seeing if anyone has experience with that. Let me know what you think about Text Now, TEXT Now, and the company actually went from just doing the voice over IP to actually giving you SIM cards. So yeah, find out, or some of you may want to sign up and see, try it for a month, see if that works. And then I'm interested to know if any of these voice over IPs can work with 2FA. We know that Google likely isn't going to accept it, but I'm wondering if the other ones are going to allow it for 2FA. One more thing I want to add before we end this segment here and proceed to the Q&A is some people have asked me about doing 2FA with a second phone number, as I discussed in 2 videos now. So on the 2 videos, I said that for 2FA, the best solution is to have an unpublicized number, a number that nobody else knows, and use that for 2FA for all these companies. And some made a comment that I think is actually valid, that if you're going to use 2FA with banks and credit card companies, they may report that phone number to credit reporting agencies. So I didn't think about that. I honestly forgot about that, and yeah, that's not going to work. So I'm gonna make a revised comment about this, and the revision to my instructions in 2FA is for banking and credit cards, things that were going to the credit report, use your regular phone number as your 2FA for banking. Okay? So the 2FAs that you need to worry about are 2FAs with social media. Those are the ones that you should use something else. A different phone number, especially with Google, with, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. I mean, hopefully you're not on Facebook. But if you're going to use any of those, Instagram, same as Facebook, WhatsApp, any of those, if you're going to use any of those for 2FA, do not use your normal number. Use the secondary number. And I was just trying to find a way of doing that inexpensively. But for banking and credit cards, use your regular number, because that will be publicized in the credit report. And so you don't want to reveal a new number in a credit report. Then the validity of that number being new and unmatched to you is going to disappear. So there's my tip there, is to modify my instruction on using that. So I'll make sure that my credit cards and so on, 2FA is using my normal number, and leave the social media ones to the new number. Now, many of those will actually accept voice over IP, including Google Voice. So the only real issue is how to do 2FA for Google. And they're one of the worst. So, if I give them my phone number to Google, then Google will abuse it and will use it for cross-device tracking. So it's really important to bypass Google in some way. In fact, mainly the purpose of paying for a SIM card is really for Google, which is really sad that I have to pay money just to avoid Google. Okay. So what if you have to use a credit card? Yeah, use your 2FA as your normal phone number. Okay. The segment is now finished, and I'm going to go into the Q&A segment, which we will mark with a introduction to our sponsor. Our sponsor is Linode, or Akamai Linode. And Linode has a special offer if you use their services, and it's, of course, used for servers. If you need, your business, your own personal business, if you need a website, you need any kind of Linux server, this is what Linode offers. They offer Linux servers and other servers. And if you do it on Linode, you can actually set up a server for as little as $5 a month. It doesn't cost very much. And if you do linode.com/Rob Braxman, when you sign up to Linode, they're going to give you a $200 credit, which you can use for 2 months. So some of you, especially the young people who want to try out setting up servers, this is a good way to try it, because you're for free. For 2 months, you can set up a server, many servers for free, and try things out and learn how to do Linux and things like that, and do it for free. And then you can learn how to do that, and then you can sell your services to others and say, I can build you a website on Linode, use WordPress, and it's build your skill set in 2 months, and then you can offer that service to others. So and then operationally, to maintain a small website doesn't cost more than $5 a month. It's pretty impressive. So Linode is also expanding. They're adding many more locations, data centers. So they're doubling the number of data centers. I forget how many data centers they have. Can't remember. 15 to 20 data centers, and they're going to double that. So that'll benefit me too. If they go to more data centers, I'm going to have servers in all of those data centers. I have a server in every data center of Linode, so I'm happy to add more if they offer it. So anyway, that's our sponsor, Linode. Okay, so now let me focus on your questions, and again, I'm going to prioritize here on YouTube those who are members. So if you are not a member, you can join. There's a button to join, and that will contribute $5 a month to this channel. And of course, doing that would be appreciated. Website says $100 credit. Really? They've reduced it to $100 credit? How interesting. I did not know that. When you do Rob Braxman, it's only $100 credit. They didn't tell me that. Okay. In any case, you're not going to spend $200, even $100, trying things out on Linode. It's going to be a lot cheaper than that. Let me see. Okay, so no new comments here on Rumble. I'm reading the comments on both. Any recommendations on open source tablets? That's really unfortunate, but at the moment, no. The only tablets you can de-Google are some Samsung tablets, and I've never actually tried it. De-Googling Samsung is a completely different process, and I haven't been successful. So I haven't been successful with doing that, so I can't really recommend anything. But I'm going to tell you this. There's really nothing wrong with using Microsoft Surface, which is, of course, running Windows 11, as your tablet. It's really the best option if you're going to compare privacy in all of the different options of tablets. And I'm going to say, well, the one that offers the most potential privacy for all of you least of all evils, is actually a Microsoft Surface. Now, the form factor is obviously tablet, but you can use it as a standard computer. So that's the advantage. You can run standard apps that you can run in Windows. So it's likely quite compatible because of that. The main issue with Microsoft Surface that gives it an advantage is you can turn off all the spyware. Practically everything can be turned off. And you can use my video on Windows 11. You can just turn things off. And if you do that, then you minimize the footprint of whatever risk there is with Microsoft. That's the thing with Microsoft is even though they've been trying to be in the spyware business, they have been failing miserably at it, which is really great. It's really great. For example, you can even run Windows 11 without actually logging in. And that's one of the key things you got to do is not to log in, and on a Microsoft Surface you can still do that. Some people have argued that you can't do that, but you can do it. It's in the video. And I don't log into I have one computer on Windows 11, and I don't log into Windows 11 on that. The only time I had to log in was to download the upgrade at the beginning, and that was it. And from then on I never had to log in again. And I turned off all the privacy issues on it, so it has a very minimal privacy footprint. It's not like I just to make you understand this, the risk on a desktop, even though there are risks on a desktop or PC or laptop, there are risks. That's with any internet device. There are no sensors, so the sensors that we worry about, location sensors and all that. Things like NLP and the NLP threat with location, the supple threat with location, things like that, only really exist on phones. They don't, and tablets. They don't exist on computers. So if you're going to compare, let's say, okay, you said, well, I prefer an iPad. Well, just think about it. The iPad is doing tracking. If you turn it off, it turns into an AirTag. It has all the content stuff on it. Like client-side scanning and all these evil things that Apple put in there. I mean, why? Why would you subject yourself to a device that constantly tracks you? I understand that most tablets are used only for media consumption. Most tablets are used for watching, movies, reading books, and so on. But that can just as easily be done on Microsoft Surface. And, plus it's a computer. You put a keyboard on it and it's a normal computer. So you actually have a plus in there. So if I were going to make a choice between, I know many of you hate Microsoft. But I mean, come on. Microsoft versus Apple. Microsoft just doesn't know how to spy on you. They've always failed. They've been trying to spy on you, but they don't know how. Because they didn't originally start out in that business. One of the limitations that Microsoft has, that's why they're unable to actually do a complete spying thing, is that a lot of things in Windows is configured using what is called the registry. And whether you like it or not, you can turn things off in the registry because that's what the software apps use to self-configure themselves, and anyone can go into the registry. If you own your computer, you can do that. In an Apple device or specifically iOS and a Samsung, you don't have the ability to go to that level of detail and say, I'm going to go to the registry and change things. On Windows, you can. You can choose to install, not install an update. You can do many things that you cannot do on iOS. Or even some versions of Android. So that's the advantage of Microsoft Surface. Again, not saying that Microsoft Surface is better than some safe operating system like Linux. But, I mean, what are we going to recommend here? That nobody's making new tablets with any other operating system right now. So we're kind of stuck. So, nowadays, because I think what happened was the tablet business kind of like, went down. But everyone has a tablet now. So it's like nobody needs any more tablets. So that part of the market has kind of achieved no growth, and your iPad from 10 years ago still work fine, except that you need to change the battery now, and that's the only reason you're buying a new iPad is because you need a new battery. But in reality, or maybe the buttons aren't working on your iPad. And so that's some of the reasons why people are buying new tablets, but otherwise, there's really no big issue with buying a new tablet. And because of that shrinking market for tablets, we're stuck now where we don't have tablet options. So at the moment, I'm going to just recommend a Microsoft Surface. There are other models, or there are 2-in-1s from Lenovo and 2-in-1s from HP. They're a little bit bigger and bulkier, but if you want a true tablet form factor, the true tablet form factor is a Microsoft Surface. Okay, so I have not. There are you can in theory install Lineage on Samsung Galaxies. I've never been successful at that, so I don't want to recommend it because if somebody like us, we have people here who know how to de-Google everything, and yet we don't have confidence we can do Samsungs, because Samsungs have completely different approach to the bootloader and everything else. So it's been difficult to assure you that we can actually flash a tablet. So for that reason, I'm going to say stick to something that is universally supported, that you can configure to remove most of the significant spyware, and that would be a Microsoft Surface. Again, you have to follow my instructions in the video. You have to not log in, turn off all the settings. There's even an app you can use that will turn off the settings for you, which was in that video on Windows 11. Okay, so privacy not guaranteed for safety of business ideas. Partial ownership implied. Starlink. Well, that's true of the internet. Good thing they're being honest with you. Am I watching the World Cup? How can I be watching the World Cup when I'm here doing a video? But no, I don't. I'm not really big into sports, so I'm not a sports kind of guy. So my only real sport is used to be yacht racing. When I was doing that, I'm not doing that anymore. But when I was doing that, I did a lot of yacht racing. So Starlink changes MAC and has IPv6. Actually, Starlink has been changing. I have Starlink, and Starlink changes the. If you run Starlink, you'll notice a changing IPv4. So if you go to a website, your IPv4 IP address is not constant. It's always changing, and the reason is you're sharing that IP address with probably many thousands of people. Though you're actually sharing a IPv4 router way deep into the Starlink network, since you're connecting by IPv6, and then you exit Starlink, you're exiting with IPv4, since IPv6 is not routed through the internet. So it's actually good. It's not actually bad. You actually are having a semblance of it's almost like a VPN. Not quite, because obviously if you're a target of a government, they can use IPv6 to spy on you. But in my case, this is what I do to prevent someone from Starlink to actually access my device directly from Starlink, because it can in IPv6. To prevent somebody from accessing your device directly from Starlink, I have a separate router in between. And the router in between connects to the Starlink router. So Starlink router, then my router. And I have that router set to link local mode only. Link local mode. And then I look at my computers, and my computers only have a link local address, which starts with FE80. Then no one from Starlink can directly access the computers. Okay, obviously they can find out what your IP address is, but it's not constant. That's the thing about a Starlink system. It's not wired. There's no, there's no direct way. For example, IPv6 in a standard ISP, they actually assign the IPv6 based on the router, so location, the subnets, and everything. However, they distribute the network in the neighborhood, and it's going to be pretty much like a map. So if they can pre-assign you the IP address, IPv6 address, that can actually be street by street. They can actually do that already just by the assignment of the number. So because of that, IPv6 is actually very integrated into location tracking. Well, you can't do that with Starlink, and the reason is there's a satellite in the sky, and the sky covers a very large area. Okay, a very large area. It may cover an entire state. So how do you identify a specific device using that method? Because there's no way to actually map the IPv6 to something specific, like a location. There's no location. You're just talking to the satellite. Okay? So it's not like you can map a specific modem and say that's over. Now, of course, Starlink knows who you are because you paid for it with a credit card, and unless you're using it in a mobile kind of a setup, they can assume that you bought it and it's in your residential area if you have a residential plan. And so they know who you are, but I'm saying just the direct connection between your internet traffic and your IP address is not directly there. It's indirect. So don't assume it's complete privacy, obviously, because of that. But that's not normally a threat for normal people. It's not necessarily a cause of mass surveillance, which is really what I'm concerned about. Anyone can be targeted with active surveillance. If you're, an enemy of the state, somebody can track you any way they want. So, but for the non-enemies of the state, I wouldn't concern myself with it. And as I said, this kind of use of IPv6 actually maybe protects us. And this can operate like this for a while as long as the IPv6 is not part of the internet yet. So the internet is not yet operating under IPv6. If you connect to Facebook from your Starlink, Facebook does not see your IP address coming from your own router. They just see the Starlink router. So there'll be thousands of people with the same IP address. So that is kind of like the function of a VPN. So, and hopefully the websites like Netflix will say you're not on a VPN. They will detect it. It is Starlink. So, but it will actually semi-protect you. So at least from the endpoint, meaning the websites at the end, they will protect you in a Starlink configuration versus the standard cable router modem that has a fixed IP address. My IP address hasn't changed in 20 years. It's the same IP address. So, okay. So hopefully that'll answer that. When using Starlink, make sure you're using the closest ground node. What does that mean? There's no ground node. You're using a satellite. What is a ground node, Kevin? And Kevin is a member, so I answered him first. Because they may assign you a ground node far away, making your connection slower than it should be. I don't know anything about this, Kevin. How do you select a ground node? Is that some option that I haven't seen in there, that you select a ground node? Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Something to research. I have not had consistent service with my Starlink at night. Seems to be very stable during the day, giving me close to 80 megabits per second during the day, but at night it's spotty. I do not know why yet. So, ground station stays same, base station. Okay, is that maybe an option on the RV version. Okay, I don't know because I don't have an RV version. Uh, I was, studying the possibility of moving the Starlink to the boat and using it there. But to be honest, I don't need that. I have Wi-Fi in my slip, so I have good internet on the boat already. So my Wi-Fi connects to wired connection in my slip, so I don't need Starlink there unless I'm traveling in the ocean. Satellite could be far from range. Satellite could be far from range. I don't know what that means. The satellite map showed the ground nodes. Okay. What is the ISP downlink to the internet backbone? I think that's what they're calling ground station. What is the ISP downlink to the internet backbone? Well, Starlink is the ISP, so they can set up ISPs, I guess, anywhere they want. And it's whatever is convenient for the satellite. The satellites are in fixed positions. So they don't need that many ground nodes per satellite. I mean, but I see what you mean. If you can select that, so potentially the satellite might connect with multiple ground nodes. Yeah, that's possible. To save on ping time, because if you're in LA, then you're going to a closer ground node. Okay, got it. Anyway, why support Musk? So Sassy Doe says, why support Musk? It's fun. It's a funny question, though. It's a funny question. If you take politics aside, many from the progressive end were supporting Musk because he's into electric cars. When he shifted politics, it's like, oh, he's a bad guy now. So now you should see Twitter. So I went back to Twitter. But before I do that, let me just talk. Before I talk about that, let me just talk about the Musk side of things. So I don't know why some of you, see everything through the glasses of politics and everything. Everything is based on politics. And if somebody goes against you politically, then everything changes. So anyway, that's what I've observed, and no one can make judgments of things just based on what it is that you like or dislike about what it is that somebody is trying to offer you. So some of you, for example, in the interest of politics, have said no electric cars because electric cars are a thing of the left. But that's pretty interesting, because if electric cars are a thing of the left and the left now doesn't like Musk because of Twitter, how does that work? Okay. So anyway, I should maybe take politics aside out of that, because you probably will never win in that case, because if you're on the left and you want to discount Musk, then are you going to discount electric cars? So let's see how that goes. Okay, because some of you hate electric cars, some of you love electric cars. Okay, so you decide what you want. You're free to decide that. Now, but I left Twitter. And electric cars a danger. Oh, okay, you're on that side. Okay, Sassy Doe. electric cars are dangerous. Yeah, that's fine if you believe that. Yeah, I thought maybe you were talking about the Twitter thing. Okay. Uh, yeah. So if you are not a fan of electric cars, you certainly can can subscribe to that, and that's fine. That's fine. You believe whatever you feel like you need to side with, and that is fine with me. I don't have a problem whatever you want to believe on that front. But let me talk about uh, Twitter for a moment. Am I on Truth Social? Hell no. No, I am not on Truth Social. I try not to be. I am on Rumble, uh, and I don't like to be on sites that are echo chambers. And Rumble is a little bit of an echo chamber, uh, and that's actually not the healthiest, because I don't think that my what I teach here has a political side. However, I'm going to to say that I kind of have no choice, because when Rumble offered to uh, promote me on Rumble, so Rumble contacted me and said, we're going to promote you on Rumble. And I said, do I support 2A? Yes, Rob. Yes. I can't show you anything here on YouTube. They're going to ban me, but yes. Yes, I do, but I can't talk about it. You know how it is in this very censored forum here. So anyway, on Rumble, what happened was I discovered that a lot of my audience left YouTube. It was kind of shocking to me, but my traffic on YouTube dropped significantly, and I wasn't getting any new subscribers. I was actually getting new subscribers, but people were leaving at such a fast rate that it appeared like I was not growing at all. It was like the number was completely flat. And as it turned out, 2,000 users were leaving every month. And they were leaving YouTube. And unfortunately for me, they weren't leaving because of me. They were leaving YouTube, period. Good morning, Robert James in the UK. Thank you for waking up early. So anyway, so what happened on my finding about YouTube was that I lost so many subscribers. I'm gonna guess I lost half. Possibly 150,000 people left from my subscriber base. They weren't watching my videos anymore. And then when I went to Rumble, I discovered that a lot of them moved to Rumble. Big chunk of them. So I now, I've been in Rumble for a very short time, and I now have close to 15,000 subscribers on Rumble. I have, I believe, around close to 80,000 subscribers on Odysee, but the traffic on Odysee is very small compared to Rumble. Rumble actually has significant views. I'm actually getting significant views on Rumble, sometimes matching YouTube. So there are millions of people on Rumble, and so I got to go where my viewers are, because I got to go balance it out. So my viewers left YouTube. So YouTube must be losing business. They're going somewhere, and kind of like Twitter losing business. And so going back to Twitter here, Twitter was very, very divisive, and it was so frustrating to see the divisiveness on Twitter, and then the corresponding blatant censorship. I am not a big fan of censorship. Not a fan of censorship at all. I mean, there are other ways to limit, abusive comments, for example, by having users downvote something and do it in a democratic way. But for uh, Gade, the woman in charge of, who was fired, who was gaslighting us and saying that they believed in free speech and all that, and it was completely fake and false. No, she wasn't the free speech at all. They were just selectively doing censorship, and it just bugged me. It just bugged me because it was so blatant. They weren't just censoring the right, by the way. They were also censoring the left, and it just was so blatant, and it just angered me. And I said, I don't know if I want to be in this platform. I just want people to say what they want to say, whether it be on the left and the right, and not have any kind of limitation if they're not doing anything like promoting violence or anything like that. For normal people speaking their views, it's fine with me. Whatever their side is, they should be able to do that. But when somebody says, I'm going to decide only that only one side should speak and the other side should not speak, that really was very upsetting to me. And so that bothered me a lot. And I said, what is the real benefit for me to be on Twitter? Twitter does not enhance my social media presence in the past. And so I decided to leave Twitter. Strangely enough, some of you are complaining that Elon Musk took over Twitter, and that now this means that Twitter is going to go down. I don't know how it could possibly go down since it was so down already. Okay, it was, to me, Twitter was like unsavable before. It was so bad. So it was so bad that I can't imagine it can be worse. So all I want to see is that you stop censoring, period. That's it. Let everyone speak. And yet one side is saying, oh, he's going to censor everyone now on the left. He didn't say that. He just said, we're going to, even it out so people can speak. And then somebody said, it's now going to be the place for anger and this and that, because no one's going to be stopping those bad people from speaking. Oh, you mean people who disagree with you? So unfortunately, I don't buy that. I'm pretty flexible with my views. I'm willing to listen to both sides. And I do. In fact, if you look at my follow list from my side, and if you look at my feed, I've both extremes there. People talking on both extremes in politics and other issues. And, I don't mute them or do anything. In fact, it's fine. They can say whatever they want. And it angers me when some of them contact me and said that they've been censored. It really angered me because it means somebody's trying to manipulate. And that's really what I'm concerned about. Is I don't want any platform manipulating views as they do on Google and Facebook and so on. I don't want anybody manipulating anything. Let the crowd decide, what the community wants, and the community will come up with some happy medium, which may not be what you like at that moment, but at least it's a medium. You start doing censorship, and it's no longer a medium. You're actually shifting the politics to one side or the other, which is not right. It's not right, and that's why extremes in views today are happening, because people are going into their what do you call this? Echo chambers. So the people on the right have left, and they go to Gab, they go to Rumble, and they go to Odysee, and that becomes their echo chamber. And then the left claim Twitter and Facebook and all the other ones as their side, and so now it becomes another echo chamber, and no one actually starts to listen to each other. Nobody talks to each other anymore, and that's really, really bad. And I know that my comments here, this is a given, expecting the 50 people, 55 people to if they watch this segment, they will unsubscribe to me. because apparently, if I even go against your politics in some way, then I can't be a good guy, so they're going to unsubscribe. So yeah, accept that. Then you shouldn't really be here. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just expressing my views. My views is that you should be able to speak and fairly, without any third party doing any extreme amounts of control, subject to certain standards of society that prevent things like inciting violence and so on, and truly wanting to hurt people in some bad way. But just to give an opinion, I don't think deserves any kind of censorship. So in that, yeah, I side with Elon. So if you don't like that, then sorry about that. Apparently Elon was a Democrat, and then he it became so extreme that he said, I'm not going to be on that extreme side, so I'm not going to vote Democrat. That's Elon for you. So yeah, so anyway, I'm just of course it remains to be seen what actually happens to Twitter, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and watch and see if people are negatively impacted. But I can't see how it could be worse. It was so bad. Okay, I mean, it's such blatant targeting of accounts and so on, and people have contacted me even from both sides and said they were censored, and it was just too aggressive censorship on both sides. And they were contacting me, and then we were talking about shadow banning, and they demonstrated to me that they were being shadow banned, and then yeah, they were in fact being shadow banned. I could see that. And they were being shadow banned on the left and on the right. Okay, so anyway, if you don't like what I'm saying, then of course you will unsubscribe and you will lose out on privacy teachings. So that is fine. That's your right. Now, what people told me in the hospitals really affected how I see places. You are right. It affects every carry forward into the general population one step at a time. Yeah. Well, Rob, I think are the greatest things since sliced bread. Oh, thank you, RWG51. That's very kind of you. Anyway, I don't espouse any particular political side here on my channel. I'm trying to encourage people to be able to speak, and if people are able to speak, then the population as a whole will decide. Some of you are on extremes of either side, and typically the direction of this country and other countries that have free democracies are decided by the middle, and that's fair. And whatever it is, it is. I mean, obviously, if you on that basis, you can see that it swings back and forth over time, and which implies some sort of middle ground, which is what we want, some middle ground, and that's what that's basically I think is the least resistance from all, is a middle ground, and I just wish people listen to each other. Not sure people listen to each other anymore. So on this channel, I'm trying to protect your privacy so that you can speak out. Because if they know who you are and they know what you think, then they might try to manipulate you and make you think something else, and you actually get more frustrated, and you're going to say somebody's out to get me, and then you're going to feel worse about it. And then there's the other side that doesn't get censored because they're on the side of the platform, in which case then they start to get into the more extreme mode because the platform encourages them to be in that side. And this is just so unhealthy, and I just don't think that this kind of direction is what causes so much anger in society today. So if big tech didn't actually know what you thought, if big tech didn't actually know if you're on the left or on the right, it would actually be very hard for them. Signal dropped for a moment. If big tech didn't actually know what you thought, it would be very hard for them to manipulate anything. And this is really what privacy is for. We need to talk more and react less. Don't get offended about everything all the time, says John Hour. Thank you for your support, John. I appreciate it. And for those of you who want to support the channel in a little way, you can be a member. And that would, of course, be appreciated. And I can see some of the comments here on Rumble. At the end of negotiation, go long in Tesla. Whatever that means. Okay. In Denmark, police actually patrolling Facebook. Okay. Doesn't surprise me. A solid foundation to stand on. Meet in the middle. Abandon the extreme sides. Okay. Just reading comments here. Not taking any. Tesla batteries made by the CCP. If they are, they're not, then somebody should make them cheaper someplace else. Then maybe we'll go there. So obviously the reason it's purchased from a country is because it's cheaper there. Are you connected to Starlink right now? Jay, no, I am not. As I explained, I'm currently not on Starlink. How do you become a member? There is a join button in the channel. So if you look at the channel, there's a join button, and then you can join. Let's see. But surely I could have done better with $48 billion than buy Twitter. Yeah, that's a different question. That's a different question. Although, you know, shaking up big tech is always a good thing with me. If you can shake up big tech in some way, and because big tech was basically in the control of a community that all thought the same, and in fact, they exchange employees all the time. You know, one big tech programmer will go to another big tech programmer, and they just rotate all the time. And you know, they're all in that Silicon Valley area, and so you know, it doesn't change. Nothing changes, and yeah, this shakes things up. It will even change things even more if Twitter actually moves to Texas. That might be interesting, because now you're going to get programmers that don't have this physical connection to Silicon Valley. So yeah, no join button here. Yeah, the join button. I don't know where the join button is. Somebody can tell you. I think it's in a channel page. I'm not sure there's a join button in chat, so do not know. So somebody made a comment, by the way, on kind of this side thing, and I'm going to see if, you know, this deserves a video. But this really angers me when I see this. So somebody made a comment on one of my videos that said, you know, how many rapists, murderers are escaping because big tech won't share their data. Something along those lines. I forget the exact words, but basically implying that having you know, big tech surveil us, you know, mass surveillance, either through government or through big tech, it's going to save us from murderers and rapists and so on. So that really angers me, because are we all rapists and murderers? So think about the analogy here. so we don't know if people might carry guns in public places. We don't know. In California, you're not allowed to carry in the city. Some parts of California you can carry, but in the city you can't without, obviously, with some have carry licenses, but it's extremely rare, and you have to be, in that line of work to be able to carry here in the city. So, given that you want to, prevent people from having guns, let's say, I'm giving you an example here. In Los Angeles, then let's put a checkpoint on every major street. Let's put a checkpoint everywhere. This would really help protect our city. Put a checkpoint on every street. So this will, solve the gang member problem. Gang members walking around with guns, thieves walking around with guns. Yeah, let's put a checkpoint in every street corner, people. That's what we need. Because that's what the guy said. We need to be surveilled because there could be murderers and rapists among us. We need to be surveilled. So if one of you is a rapist and murderer, we got to surveil every single person. So let's do that. Well, let's put checkpoints. Put checkpoints, physical checkpoints in every corner. I want you to live your life going to the market and going through a checkpoint where you actually get out of the car and let somebody pat you down and go inspect your vehicle to see if you're carrying guns. Let's do that. Let's see how you like that. This is like a nonsense argument. So by the way, this is the argument that is promoted by people like Peter Thiel, and I don't think this is the argument of a Zuck. Zuckerberg doesn't care about that, but Peter Thiel does, and Bill Gates does too. Yeah. They want surveillance, be able to, surveil you through big tech. Yeah, that's important to them. Surveil you via big tech. So that's the same thing as putting a checkpoint in every zucking corner and a camera with a checkpoint. So we record everywhere you go, which they already have. So, my gosh, yes, that's the same exact thing as papers, please. Yes, same exact thing. There's no difference. Papers, please. It's really what it is. Okay, so how can you be a believer in this? What kind of fascist are you that you would actually say, oh yeah, good system. Let's do that. Let's surveil everyone because, you can be a murderer. So let's examine it. Why don't we just do it the Big Brother way and put a camera? The TV is the camera as it is in the book. Make every TV a camera, and then you report into to Big Brother every day to do your exercises. You go talk to the TV. The TV checks and see if you're doing your exercises every day and doing whatever the TV tells you to do because Big Brother controls the TV. Yeah, let's just do all that. That way we can ensure no one goes against the government. Nobody goes against anything. And you have total control. Good stuff. Total control. And that is the thing that this guy was talking about, that you should have big tech and government, three-letter agencies, be able to spy on us daily, even though we don't do anything bad. This is what a standard society is supposed to be. You see, I already lived through that. These Zuckers who talk about this don't actually know what it's like to be in that kind of environment. I already lived that. I lived in a dictatorship when I was young. Couldn't say anything bad about the government. You're going to go to jail. It's pretty scary, and you don't even know anyone you talk to if they are on the side of the dictator. that we had a name for them. They were called the cronies. So you didn't know who a crony was because, they could be normal people. And a crony, the advantage of the cronies were they made money off the system. When they were cronies, they got rewarded financially. They got government contracts and any such thing. And, cronies can be in your family. They could be relatives, and they're making money off the system. And those taking advantage, of course, will support the dictator because they're making money. And if you say anything against the dictator, then somebody could report you, even your own relatives. And there were so many, teachers and professors and so on in school that would just disappear. Most of them disappeared when they had an inkling they were going to be arrested. So a lot of them escaped, and they were able to talk after. I talked to some of them, after, decades later, and how they destroyed a good chunk of their lives, sometimes 15 years of hiding. 15 years of hiding. So they lost their careers and everything because they believed what they believed, and they wanted to just be able to speak. They couldn't speak out. So so for those people who believe that, you have no knowledge of what it's like to live in that kind of world. You have no knowledge. So I have direct knowledge of that, and I don't want to ever stop somebody from speaking because I've already experienced that. I don't even care what you speak about. You can speak pro or against any topic, and I would support you that you're able to speak that. As I found, this is my honest opinion here, guys, is that we all speak about things, and our ideas and our opinions are based on our life experiences, which are obviously different. Somebody who is if you're Paris Hilton and you were raised by, your millionaire families all your lives, and you've never had to work, you'll have a lot of different opinions than somebody who has had to work and had to struggle to get in somewhere. If you're come from a family that has a lot of real estate and a lot of property, you're going to believe something different than a renter. I agree. This is, it's hard to judge because everyone comes from different points of view, and hopefully it comes out to a balance where no one group becomes in control of everything that there is, which actually, of course, is not true, because whoever has the money has more control. But we're enabling that. We're enabling that power by enabling the information flow in the hands of a few billionaires. And that is really bad. So from my point of view, I want people to be able to speak out. Whether or not I agree with you, it is immaterial. You have a right to speak. That's what I believe. You have a right to speak, even if I don't side with you. And I don't need to be on your same side. I just want you to be able to speak out, and then the population will agree or disagree as a group, and then typically the answer is somewhere in the middle. The answer is somewhere in the middle. It always is. So choices made by a group will often end up in the middle until the group is manipulated, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get away from. So we're down to just 6 minutes here. Well, I mean, I say that, but the exactly well said. Don't agree to be, and don't agree to be able to speak. People, by the way, this is a very common to see on one side or the other, and then they say, well, it's people should be able to speak freely as long as you don't disagree with me. So, yeah. people are not necessarily being, genuine when they say you ought to be able to speak, because if they don't agree with you, then they start calling you names and so on. I definitely don't agree with that. I think you should be able to say what you believe, because it's based on your personal experience, if it's true, and then you can influence the group, and the group then decides, or the community or the population then decides how important what you said is. It deserves to be heard, whatever it is you believe. If things are balanced, there's always some point to be understood from anyone speaking, even somebody as weird as Alex Jones. Now, Alex Jones is definitely on the side that talks about some pretty weird stuff, totally conspiracy theory stuff that is he borders on the imaginary sometimes, many times. He borders on the imaginary. Some of the stuff he talks about is imaginary, but strangely enough, a lot of what he says is the same as what I say when it comes to some of the issues I raise when it comes to big tech and all this. Why is that? So you can see, even if somebody is that weird, there is something to be said about what is being said. There's always some truth mixed in there that actually makes sense. So yeah, so whether or not you side with some of these people, there's always some segment of what they say that actually will match what I say, for example. And that doesn't mean I'm on their side, but it's just the fact that the facts sometimes speak for themselves. If I'm talking about something that big tech is doing and I can prove it, and then people will pick up on that and they'll say, yeah, big tech is doing that. And then they agree that shouldn't be done. But on the other hand, then there's the other extreme where when you start imagine things and it's not based on anything real, but you're starting to invent things, and that's the danger. But I think most of us have common sense enough to say, yeah, that doesn't ring true. Therefore, we discount that. We don't have to censor that. I think, if a community has an ability to vote, you can probably downvote certain ideas as not making any sense. You just downvote it. If we, the people, lose our right to freedom of speech, then all other rights will disappear in no time at all. And then that relates to, by the way, that's very generous of you, John. Thank you. That kind of relates to what Snowden says too, where if you don't believe in the right to privacy, then you better not have freedom of speech either. Because just because you do not use your freedom of speech doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a right to speak. The same with privacy. Just because you may not be concerned about privacy all the time doesn't mean that you don't have the need for it. So anyway, we're running out of time, and I kind of ranted on completely different things here, and guaranteed to get my 55 less subscribers. That seems to be whenever there's a hint of politics in what I say, I'm always going to get minus 55 subscribers. So hopefully we can counter that. So if you're listening to this and you're not subscribed, maybe you want to subscribe to counter that minus 55 that I always get when I even mention anything that is, remotely suggestive of politics. It's very frustrating, very, very frustrating. So thank you guys for watching. And Dark Uli, I guess if you're chatting here, you're already a subscriber. But if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, because there's nothing in the privacy side that requires you to be on one side or the other. It's completely apolitical. Anyone can spy on you on either side. So I appreciate it, and thank you so much. And thank you, RWG51. Again, that's very, very kind of you. And don't forget to hit the join button here on YouTube. I'm going to have something on Rumble as well. I'm going to do something on Rumble that's similar. It's going to be called Locals, and at some point that will be there. So thank you for watching, guys, and let me just set up to end the stream, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye.